Happy non-anniversary, Ted and Nicole. Hey, y'all. Hey. Welcome back to the next episode of the Deep Dive with Toya Creates. Now, we are going to be talking about the Friday, May 1st episode of Beyond the Gates, even though it's Sunday, May 3rd. Please have mercy, okay? I was finally able to go check out Michael in theaters with my family on Friday, and so the soaps got pushed, and so I am finally catching up. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you like soap content like this, please like, comment, follow, subscribe, and join in the comments below so we can chat about your favorite storylines too, because I love running my mouth about these things with other people. So, as I said, let's get into this past Friday's Beyond the Gates. So, it was, oh my God, the whole episode basically, in my opinion, revolved around Ted and Nicole's anniversary. So, Friday was that fateful day, and the Duprees were rallying, and I like that. You know, they're a really close-knit family, and I like seeing that element. So, I saw Nicole. She was sitting in the country club just by herself, and her family was rallying. You know, she was getting several text messages from Anita, from Vernon, everybody. So that was good. So then we also saw Kat and Martin. Maybe they opened the show. Sorry, you know, I'm looking at my notes. It's a lot on Beyond the Gates. I think we opened with Kat and Martin, and they were at Martin's house, and they're just discussing the parents' anniversary. You know, Kat was looking at a family picture of all four of them, and just, you could tell Kat really wishes that things were back to normal, but I think Kat has been doing a better job with everything. I'm gonna give her little props now. She hasn't been too bad. But yeah, so Kat and Martin are basically discussing how they are going to handle the day, and they basically agree that Martin will check on Ted because Martin feels like he can I guess identify with Ted a little more because Martin's made his own mistakes in his marriage, and fortunately, he and Smitty were able to work through them, and so he has a little less judgment that Kat may have if she were interacting with Ted. And so, of course, Kat is going to check Nicole's temperature. And, woo! So they were talking about that, and Martin was carving out time on his, campaign calendar to make some time to meet up with Ted. And you could tell Martin was just a little maybe overwhelmed at the moment. So he and Kat are still talking. And Eva, of course, because baby Eva lives rent-free in Kat's mind. She had to be topic of conversation. And so Martin was just like, I thought you guys were making progress and that you were off this ice queen thing. And Kat said, cake does not equal trust, and Eva is not family. So Martin got a little agitated there. He was like, God, you are so stubborn. And she called him a hypocrite, and you would have thought Kat spat in Martin's face because he was like, he jumped up and started hollering and screaming, and then he had to catch himself. So, that therapy with Nicole clicked in, and he was like, oh my God, Kat, I'm so sorry, because Kat was like, what is going on? Thankfully, this time she didn't just storm out. So I'm proud of them for, again, using their words with each other and talking this out. So Kat was listening to Martin talk about how, it's just everything. He's overwhelmed with this campaign. I'm sure the little minor issues with Smitty playing a part, but he can't really go into detail with that with Kat. And he was also talking about the whole Tyrell Samantha situation that occurred earlier in the week with, the double standard that Smitty and Martin exhibited with Tyrell having a girl in his room versus Samantha having a boy on the couch, and she being basically, you would have thought it was a federal offense, while Tyrell was just getting a light slap on the wrist. And so Martin was still angry about that, and he felt, he was being unfairly ganged up on. And Kat was like, yeah, I heard about it because, I'm in this group chat with Samantha and Chelsea, and of course she told me. And Kat told Martin, like, yeah, you were exhibiting double standards. But Martin said his reasoning is that Tyrell is about to graduate in a few months and he'll be out in the world doing whatever he wants. So it didn't make sense to him to punish Tyrell so severely. What sense does that make? In a couple of months, Tyrell will be grown. He ain't grown now. And y'all have rules. So how can you enforce these rules on all parties in the home if you're going to blatantly let one child do something totally different? Until he's out of the house, guess what? He's still a child. That's my opinion. And then also, I thought Tyrell and Samantha were twins. So why is Tyrell the only one heading off to college and graduating this year while Samantha's just doing... I don't understand what's going on. Does someone know? Please tell me. But, okay. So then they had that conversation, and Kat, she accepts the answer. She's just like, okay, that makes sense. Even though I'm just like, no, it don't. But okay, you like it, I love it. They also talk about Shanice and Ted very briefly, And Kat said she likes Shanice. She's real and she can handle Leslie. So, Kat loves that. But she said, Shanice is no mom. And Ted will never get that lucky again. Okay. I get it. These are your parents. But I'm sorry, the sun does not rise and rise and shine on Nicole. Sorry. Okay. She's cool and all, but I'm tired of this putting her on this crazy pedestal. And Ted is, but whatever. So then, like I said earlier, that's when we saw Nicole in the club, and she's getting messages from family, checking in, and she seems to be doing okay at that time. So then we get into Ted and Eva. Eva figured the day would be hard for Ted, and so she made it a point to go over and check on her dad. Now, people can say what they want to say about Eva, but I feel like she has a good heart for the most part, and unfortunately, she is loyal to a fault. Her mother raised her and she feels like she owes her. And unfortunately, she got wrangled into this mess. I'm going to be Team Eva. I don't care. So anyways, Eva was being a good daughter and checking up on her dad. And so, Ted was trying to say, he's past it. Who are you trying to fool? Eva was like, it's okay for you to talk to someone if you really need to vent. And she was just like, she understands it's difficult for him, and she just wants him to be real about the situation and lend a supporting ear for him. So that's great, So while they are talking, Nicole happens to come in, and you can tell Eva is so happy. And it's no shade to Shanice. Everybody likes Shanice, but I think Eva definitely would want Ted and Nicole to reconcile, because I know she feels guilty about it, and she likes and respects Nicole. And so when Nicole came in, Eva was all too happy to get on out of the way. She gave Ted a little like, and she went on about her business. And so Nicole and Ted start talking. It's a little awkward at first, but I think they did a good job with addressing the elephant in the room. You know, they were like, happy non-anniversary, basically. And, they did some light reminiscing at first. And they both decide that they are going to focus on the positives going forward, because Nicole and Ted basically want to analyze and figure out where do they go from here now that we are 1 year post marriage blow up. And they're just going to choose to focus on the positive memories, and they had an amazing run. And Ted says he misses those people who they were, and Nicole said she did too, but then they moved on at that point in time. So then they were discussing the Martin situation because Nicole is still very much worried, and Ted was just like taking it all in because Ted's kind of out of the loop after this whole blow up, and even a full 365 days later, he is still kind of out of the loop. And so he appreciated Nicole updating him on all the things that Martin's trying to do with like the senatorial race, and because he was a little afraid that maybe Martin and Smitty were having problems again. But Ted was able to talk with Nicole about all of the possibilities. Because again, for people who don't know, Martin killed someone years ago because it was self-defense. These two white men approached Vernon and Martin when they got a flat tire on some rural road out in the DMV. Yes, they do exist. And these two white men approached them with the intent of harm. And Martin was like, ha, not today, and went to work with a tire iron. He did right. But he is just having problems accepting it, and even though it was a justified killing as far as I am concerned, Martin's struggling with that. And so again, Nicole and Ted were able to talk about that, the senatorial run, and the concerns about everybody who could be exposed if the truth comes out, because Nicole also mentioned that now Smitty has been roped in. It's Smitty, it's Nicole, it's Ted, it's Anita, it's Vernon, it's Bill, it's Joe. It's literally basically all of the main characters are pulled into this. I feel like Kat, Chelsea, and Naomi may be the only ones who don't know. Someone can fact check me, but whatever. So one of Nicole's main concerns is Joey Armstrong, because of the double date from hell when Joey just went on out there and made his little comment about politicians and dead bodies. Nicole is concerned that Joey might expose all of them, but Ted is a little less concerned because he's just like, what would Joey gain if he exposed us? Because he would expose himself too. But Nicole's still a little worried. But let's just wrap this up. So Ted appreciates Nicole coming to him, and he just starts talking about the squandered potential, how he screwed things up with Nicole, and they keep reminiscing. Now, Ted also brings up, because Ted and Nicole met in Hawaii at some doctor's conference or something. Carlton happened to be there too. So Ted was like, I need to make a little confession. Me and Carlton saw you at the same time, but when Carlton asked me where you went, I sent him in the opposite direction. So Ted cock blocked Carlton first, but so what? I don't care beyond the gates. You will never make me accept Nicole messing around with Carlton after her 20-year marriage to Ted. I don't care. But okay, I'm glad, whatever. If Ted needed to get that off of his chest, fine. So then Ted also said he's sure Nicole is wondering how things would have been if Carlton had caught up to her first. And she doesn't really, she's like, basically she still has no regrets. So I'm like, okay. So again, they wish each other a happy non-anniversary. and this is actually where the show ends, but there are other storylines. But this is when Martin is walking into Ted's office. He sees Nicole and Ted hugging, and Martin's just like, what's going on here? And that's how it ends. But there were other things going on, like I said. So we also saw Bill, Tomas, Danny, Andre, Naomi, and Chelsea. So first we see Bill and Tomas at Orphe Jeans. They are going over this Lynette Wise case. Tomas has updates for Bill because he's been working with their PI. His name is Keegan, and they've been working on digging up information. So then we also see Naomi and Chelsea are at the club. They are just catching up after working out, and Naomi tells Chelsea that Danny really misses her. And Chelsea's just like, she could have just told me that instead of trying to pitch some crazy business deal and things like that. So while they are talking, we also see Danny and Andre at home. They're just like, not just waking up, but they're just starting their day basically. Andre is a little health geek. He's eating grass and he's already worked out and this and blah, blah, blah. And Danny's like, guess what? I want some real food with that. And so she says, let's go to Orphe Jeans. So then while Naomi and Chelsea are still talking at the club, Danny texts Naomi saying, oh, I'm going to Orphe Jeans. Do you want to join me? And Naomi's like, sure, great. And Chelsea, you can come too. This will be a great time. And Chelsea was like, yeah, I'm going to go so I don't get, accused of anything else. So Danny and Andre meet up with Naomi and Chelsea at Orphe Jeans where Bill and Tomas are already at. So these four walk in and Bill, that head turned quick. He is just stuck when he sees basically his entire family out for a lovely breakfast without him. He gets so distracted. Tomas is just like, we can wrap this up later. And what did he say? He made up some excuse or whatever. But before that, I'm sorry. So they walk in, all four walk in, and Danny and Andre are like, oh, look who's over there, talking about Bill and Tomas, and they're like, let's just get it over with. So they go over to Bill and Tomas and they start talking / throwing a little bit of jabs because Danny and Bill just can't seem to avoid doing that when they're around their significant others. But after that, Danny's like, oh, well, how are things going with the Lynette case? And Bill's like, to Tomas, and Tomas is like, oh my God, ay Dios mío. He's like, because, Danny should not know this information. And so Danny clears it up, and so does Tomas. He's just like, you remember I was asking Vanessa about information on Lynette and this penthouse deal, and Danny just happened to be there, and that's why she's aware. And so Danny also tells Bill that she had met Lynette before the mugging. And, she was questioning him because Bill went into automatic, Haley defense. Well, she had just met her. And Danny was like, well, how do you know she just met Lynette during this whole case? Because when I saw them at Atrium, it didn't appear that way to me. They seemed very close and like they knew each other. So I was like, So after that, Danny and Andre go on over to their table with Naomi and Chelsea, and that was basically it for that interaction. Tomas starts apologizing again. He's like explaining how she knew. And Bill says, don't worry about it. Danny's just trying to protect her family. And then Tomas can tell that Bill is very distracted because he's trying to talk to him and trying to continue working. But Bill's focus is on the table across the diner. And so Tomas makes up some excuse and he's just like, all right, we can catch up with this later. And Bill's like, okay, fine. So then Tomas goes on about his way. So a little bit into the meal, Andre, he's exiting because, I'm meeting up with my trainer. How many freaking times do you have to exercise a day? Okay. So he kisses Andre kisses Danny goodbye, and Naomi and Chelsea and Danny are left. Did the door even close before Bill was up out of his seat, coming over to the table? Oh, do you guys mind if I join you? Again, your whole family's there without you. I guess you might as well. Before anyone could really answer, Naomi was like, oh, I'm glad you're here because I wanted to talk to you about the Madison case. So she takes him back over to his table, and Bill quickly realizes that Naomi was lying. So he was like, you really don't have anything to talk about, do you? She was like, no, I just wanted to give Chelsea and Danny alone time because Danny's been feeling, weird, a little out of the loop, like Chelsea doesn't need her as much anymore, and she wants to be able to share a common thing with Chelsea like Naomi and Bill get to do with Law. And so that was fine with Bill too. And Naomi also started explaining like how Danny's been feeling. And Naomi said, I also mentioned to Mom, like, well, if you feel so strongly about it, why don't you have another kid? And Bill was like, you said what? And Naomi was like, weren't you and Haley trying to have a baby? He was like, no, that's different. And we decided we weren't doing it anymore. And Naomi was like, well, who made the decision? Because Naomi's on to Haley. So she's going to tuck this into her little file, I'm sure. And Bill was just like, at the thought of Danny having a baby with Andre, he was like, offended. But you were trying to do the same thing, but whatever. And that was basically it with that storyline. But I am sure this is going to come up again because how could it not? So then let me see what else. Ooh, this was a major one too. I feel like they maybe should have ended with this. But we saw Vernon and Joey. So remember earlier in the week, Martin and Vernon linked up, and Martin was updating Vernon on Joey offering his private security detail to Martin's family. And Vernon did not like that. So apparently Vernon reached out to Chief Hawthorne, which is Jacob's daddy, to set up a meeting with Joey at Uptown. So Joey's at the bar when Vernon walks in, and Joey's like, oh, I thought I was, meeting Elon, Chief Hawthorne. And Vernon was like, no, I asked Elon to do me a favor. And, Joey's like, oh, I'm surprised that you want to be seen out with me in public. Because, Joey has this big reputation and Vernon is the politician. So they get a table and Vernon confronts Joey about everything, okay? He is not the minister from Amen in this. He got right to it. He was like, you have been toying with my family long enough. He brings up the double date and the comment that Joey made that pissed Nicole off. Surprisingly, I don't know if Joey was being facetious or whatever, but he was just like, oh, I never meant to upset or hurt Nicole. And he understood. But, basically, Martin owes me. Okay? Joey respects the way that Martin stepped up to protect Vernon. And he was like vice versa. And he was happy to provide the help during that time. He helped with something else. And then there was a third thing I believe Joey mentioned. So Joey was like, we are not going to rewrite history. Martin owes me. And one day I will collect. I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting nervous. So Vernon wants to know what Joey thinks he will get out of this thing that he's trying to hold on. What he will get out of this situation. And finally, Joey, to me, he was still talking in circles a little bit. But basically, Joey wants a politician in his pocket any way he can get it. Because remember, he also was trying to get Bill to run in the primaries, I think against Martin, because he wants a politician that he can control. So after Vernon hears this, he's just like, look, I need you to leave my family alone. Martin doesn't owe you. I owe you. Because Vernon was like, I'm the one who set these things in motion. So I need you to leave my family alone. No more jokes. no more threats. And when you want to cash in on your favor, you come directly to me. Joey seemed like he was not going to accept that at first, but then he and Vernon shake on it. So, Vernon had made a deal with the devil. But I commend Vernon for stepping up because, like I said, if the Duprees don't do anything else, they are going to protect family. And I love that. So, now Vernon is officially on the hook for Joey. He hasn't had time to tell Anita or anyone else yet. So I am curious to see how that goes. And I don't know. Because we haven't really seen Vernon do anything. Is he still an acting congressman or is it like emeritus? I don't know. We haven't seen him like really do any political work outside of some speeches here and calling on his, people that he knows for favors, or we primarily see him lifting up Martin and his political ambitions. But let me not ramble. Those are the things that happened in Friday's episode. I am so ready for this week's. I heard that there were going to be more preemptions due to football. So I think we're going to get another 3-day week of Beyond the Gates. But you know what? Even on a 3-day week, it's still great. So let's see what happens tomorrow. And I will see you guys then. Like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss what's next.